The first type of control flow we're going to talk about are conditionals. So I have here an index.html file that contains that same main div element we were using in the last lesson, and within that div we have a paragraph element with the text Chevy. And what we're going to do is use some conditionals to style this Chevy paragraph with particular text color, particular font color, depending on what the word is. And so in my app.js file, the very first thing that I want to do is go ahead and grab that paragraph element. And in this case, we're only going to have one paragraph element in our array of elements that we assign to this par_lms variable. And we'd like to style this paragraph according to the value of the text that it contains. For instance, if the text contains the string value Chevy, then we want to style it with a color of blue. However, if the text contains the value Toyota, then we want to style it with the value of green. And if the text contains anything else, then we want to style it with the value of red. And so we can see here how conditionals work. They work in three parts. The first part is the keyword of the conditional. In this case, we have three conditionals, the if, else if, and else conditionals. The second part of the conditional is the actual condition itself. In this case, we just have a single condition to be met, which is if the inner HTML of our first element in our par_elements array is equal to the text Chevy. And if that's true, then we're going to execute this block of code. It turns out it is true in this case, so this code block will be executed. If it wasn't true, but then this condition was true, then this code block would be executed. And finally, if neither of these conditions were to be met, then it would execute this default code block where it sets the color of our paragraph element in our HTML to hex code of F00. So that's how the if, else if, and else statements work, and they're the most popular types of conditionals. And one thing that I'll want to point out as well is that there can be multiple conditions within each of these conditionals. So if, for instance, I had multiple conditions I wanted to be met in order for it to style my color to be blue, then I can group them together using and or logical operators. Another thing worth pointing out is that my code blocks can be more than a single statement. They can be multiple statements. They can even contain code blocks within those code blocks, and so on and so forth. So this is a very simplistic example here, but I could have a lot more code that I want to be executed in this code block. I can even have conditionals within this if statement and this else if and else statements that I can execute as well. So we can nest conditionals within one another. The only thing that you don't want to do is provide a condition for the else statement. This statement just absorbs all other cases in the instance that the if or else if statements aren't met. Also bear in mind that we only want to have one if statement within a group of if, else statements, but we can have multiple else if statements. So a single if statement, a single else statement, and as many else if statements as we'd like. And with that understanding, let's go to the browser to make sure that it colored our Chevy text in our paragraph the correct color, which we would expect to be blue. And indeed it did.